What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning back into... Oh, shit, I forgot the name of the damn show. What a clown. I didn't change this. I'm like, okay, what is it again? All right, let's try it again. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning back into My Fierce Wings with your boy, David Dwayne, on air with Dave. No, that's not it either. It's on air with David Dwayne. What an idiot. Okay, we're going to get it right. Whew. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning back into On Air with David Dwayne, your one and only rock star on the mic, My Fierce Wings Radio. Right here, right now, we got our boy, Luke Christopher, back with us. What's going on, man?
What's up, player? What's happening?
Not much. So glad to have you back. Thanks for joining us again.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me, player.
No doubt, no doubt. So you got 2 mixtapes out. I mean, not even mixtapes, but EPs. Tomorrow and yesterday, absolutely phenomenal. I probably listen to them about, daily, and my friends are like, can you turn that off? I'm like, no, I'm in the zone. This shit is hot. You're sleeping.
My dude. My dude, thank you so much, man. That means a lot.
No doubt. So you got to tell me, how long did it take, for you to, record all this music? Because, I mean, it seems like, you've been hard at work with, just your music in general for a minute now.
Yeah, man. Actually, it's kind of like the songs off the EPs were kind of made at different times. Some of them were made super recent, and then others were kind of ones that I had made that I wanted to save for a more official release as opposed to just dropping on a mixtape or on SoundCloud. So they were kind of made at different times.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, my personal favorite that I saw you perform on tour with Kid Ink, and it's on tomorrow, is Famous. Can you kind of tell the people about the concept of Famous? Because that shit, is so ill. If y'all don't know, I haven't heard Famous, download Luke Christopher Tomorrow EP and Yesterday right now. But tell them about the concept about the record.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, Famous is it's one of my favorites too, man. It was kind of like a record that when things started kind of tumbling in a good way, things started going uphill and things were happening, you kind of get these thoughts I can't. At some point, there's going to be a point where it's walking on the street is going to be different, going to the grocery store is going to be different, and when you live life, normal everyday life, it's a lot of thoughts go through your head, man, what's it going to be like? What a relationship's going to be like? What is everyday life going to be like? So I kind of wanted to express it in a song, but not in in more of a a personal way, in more of a personal way, not in a general way. And so that's kind of how the record came across. And we just shot a video to it in Philly, actually.
See, you should have invited me down to the shoot. But how was it, though?
For real. It was dope. We shot it on the George Washington Bridge, so it's gonna be dope. It's a one shot, but I should have invited you. That would be dope.
No doubt. Speaking of music video, you recently, past couple of weeks, released a video to They Know. Very dope video, very colorful. Tell them about that single and the concept for the video. Because I was like, wait a minute, this is a different approach than what I thought that this video was going to be. Totally.
Yeah, we wanted to do something that wasn't what people thought was going to come out of a record like that. We wanted to do it from the perspective of the girl, from the perspective of the camera and what it looks like from your partner's point of view when you're trying to hold them down. But there's waves of people and groupies or whatever is coming at you. So we wanted to give it from that perspective and kind of show what it would be like to be in a relationship with somebody, and have them hold you down after all the things come at you when you're on stage and girls and all that stuff, and it's super easy to fall off. But we wanted to show it from the perspective of the girl, so you got that other side.
Exactly. And I think a lot of women can respect that, especially, respect the lyrical content of the record, because it's very vulnerable and it's very true.
Right.
I mean, it's just one of those records. And I mean, you're in a relationship yourself, so I wanted to ask you, as far as being able to block out, groupies from, like your personal life? How is it hard to do, or have you just like really tackled it down where you don't even really see eye to that stuff?
It's a balance, man, because I love my girlfriend. You know what I mean? I love all the girls that support my music, and a lot of times I make music for girls too. So it's definitely a balance. It's respecting the boundary of my relationship, and also, I don't want to shut anybody out. It's not like I'm not talking to any girls. You know what I mean? Because that's
right.
Any of my fans, that alienates them, and I don't think that's a positive thing. I think it's more like there are boundaries, and anybody who comes and shows up to my show, I got love for. But there are obviously boundaries that you can't cross, and I think that's really what it's about. And that's why you get lines in there that are kind of like funny and playful. You know what I mean? But at the same time, what it's really is like, I'm not going to cross any boundaries in that sense.
No, that's what's up. And speaking of shows, during the spring you toured with Kid Ink. That's where we first had met. You absolutely toured down. I see that a lot of people were rocking with your music who didn't even know who you were. Like, they were like, okay, let's fill out, especially being Philly. Like, Philly is one of those crowds that was like, for anybody, it's hard to break, but you broke them in. Being able to perform in Philly or just, on the road with somebody such as Kid Ink. How was that whole experience for you?
It was a great experience, man, because my fan. The funny thing about kind of my fans is that they range everywhere from like, super hip hop lovers and super rap lovers to like people who like pop and kind of R&B kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So the range is super wide. So to go on tour with somebody who has a fan base that's a certain fan base, it's almost like a test to see how they rock with the music, how they feel about their first impression. Seeing me come on stage is an impression in itself. You know what I'm saying? And then when the music comes out, they might get a whole other impression. So it's interesting to watch people's faces, to be honest, at different shows, because it gives you an impression of how people react when they first see what I look like, how people react when they see, how I sing, like what the music is. And it's interesting, and it's good to know that people out there will mess with somebody that they don't know just based on the music. And I think that's kind of what's held ground for us, is that once we start playing, people start being like, oh, man, you know what, I actually like this. You know what I mean? And it's inspiring,
It definitely is inspiring, especially with the fact like you mix singing and rapping in, and you're writing and you're producing your music. Being able to incorporate all those elements, like, do you ever find it difficult, with putting it with like certain records, or you just find it easy to just mesh and make it one?
Oh no, man, it gets tough. Just from the perspective of inspiration and trying to like be in the studio. Some weeks all I want to do is make beats, and some weeks all I want to do is sing songs on the piano, and some weeks all I do is write raps, you know what I mean? So things change, and you kind of got to, when you're trying to make a song, you got to be able to take that hat off and switch it, and switch hats and change what you're doing every, hour. So for me, it's kind of, sometimes it gets hard, sometimes it just flows, but it's hard when you're on tour and stuff, and you're trying to make the beats and put 100% into them, and then write the song and put 100% into it, and then cut it and record it perfectly, and give everything 100% without half-assing anything. Sometimes it gets a little tough, but it's worth it in the end,
Yeah, most definitely. And if you can, tell the listeners about like how you decided that you wanted to incorporate singing into your music, because we talked about it in Philly, but I think it's very a unique story. So if you can, definitely tell them, about that.
Yeah, really what it was that I started rapping, started making songs when I was just, rapping. Mind you, I was 14. But there was nobody really in my area. It was my first year. It was my first year at a private school on scholarship for football, and it was middle school, and so I didn't feel like I fit in that much, because I was used to a public school. I was used to more a mixed environment in the valley, where it's there's black kids, Mexican kids, white kids, Asian kids, you know what I'm saying? So at a private school, it's like a certain type of, rich kid that's all around, and I didn't really feel like I fit in. And so I didn't have hella friends, you know what I mean, and I didn't know anybody who sung. So I kind of had to just, be like, if I want choruses where people are singing, I kind of got to sing it myself. And it took me a minute to get good at it, but eventually it was, to the point where I could at least record something that I messed with, you know what I'm saying? And it took a minute, but it kind of was, by necessity that I learned to sing anything.
Right. Now, did you have, any, vocal training when you were getting the fundamentals down when singing, or did you just kind of, train yourself formally?
It wasn't even that I trained myself. I just sang hella. You know what I mean? I just was if I'm going to get good at it, let me just listen to, my favorite singers and see how they're doing it. And then, do my version of, what they're all doing with their voices.
Right. Now, you've got this record on the Ystrdy EP, which I absolutely like. It's The Lights. Can you tell everybody about, what mindset you were in when you wrote The Lights?
Yeah, The Lights is one of my jams, too, man. I think it was, I was feeling a type of way when it came to, me and just my career. And, if I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it how I want it, then it's got to be me who fuels it, you know what I mean? A lot of times, I was so young when I got into the game, it was everyone was kind of in charge because I didn't really know. So that was kind of the moment where I was like, yo, let me take control of it and make the decisions and be in charge of, my path, you know what I'm saying? And I think The Lights was, one of the moments where I kind of made that decision.
Absolutely. And I've got to also tell you, I've told you before in Philly, but I really, really dig the fact how you've, really well branded Tomorrow Gang. You've got the shirts, you've got the site. When it coming up with, your branding strategy, so like that, and, trying to piece it all together with your music, has that ever been difficult, or have you found it to be this is true with who I am or true to, the other people that I work with, so this is not as hard as it could be when it comes to the branding?
Honestly, it was incredibly simple. It was kind of so authentic and sincere that it kind of created itself, which just made our jobs easier. All we really had to do was design how it would sit aesthetically, because the fans basically created it, and they basically made it what it is now and are continuing to grow it. So for us, it's really just giving them a place, a page and merchandise and stuff where they can rep it, how they want to. So for us, we're really it's bigger than just my music. It's more like a community now. So it's really dope. It's really dope to watch it grow.
Absolutely. And you just recently got off tour. Just going back to the whole performance aspect of everything. And how did the tour go? You did. It was colleges that you went to, correct?
Yeah, it was a private college tour, so it was smaller colleges. But it was mad fun, man. It was mad fun to headline and to see kids who had got in their cars and drove 5 hours from the closest big city to come just to see it.
Wow.
So, and for me that was wow, this is insane because it would have been the first time that I had actually headlined the tour. So to see kids that wanted to see the music, wanted to see me live so bad that they were driving, it was man, this is insane. And of course it's still early, so I got to talk to them. And now, and if anybody drove, I try to make it a point to have full on conversations and kick it with them for a minute because of how much it meant to me and to the team that they would do something like that. So it was cool that it's at that point where I could go into the audience right after the show and just kick it with them. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's dope, too, that you were able to do that because, nowadays it's not even too often where you hear about, college tours. Sometimes we hear about it, but it's the real whack ones that we hear about.
Yeah.
But for you, as an artist who's incredibly dope with the writing, the singing, the rapping, and the producing, and you coming from California, it's people are yo, he is a real true artist. Like, he's serious about his craft. So that I'm sure, like, that meant a lot, to the different colleges and to the different, fans that you even had gained from the shows.
Yeah, there was tons. I mean, it was like a lot of the kids, they were there because the colleges promoted it. They never heard my name. And so when we got on stage and people were just like, I mean, we didn't have any shows where people weren't feeling it, which was just a blessing because everyone would just turn up and every show was lit in its own way, and it kind of gave us like that, yo, this is real. Like, it kind of gave me the foresight to be like, when this is going down on stadium level, I want to make sure everybody in the stadium feels what these kids are feeling in these, 500 people rooms, because everyone was so lit, and some of the shows were intimate. And so it gave me the foresight to be like, I want to make sure when I'm on stages and in stadiums that I can provide that same experience,
Hey, David, we're going to have to go ahead and wrap, so let's make this the last question, please.
Yep, you were right on cue. So, Luke, thanks so much for this interview. We definitely appreciate it, talking to you about, the EPs tomorrow, Ystrdy, which everybody needs to download right now, iTunes, Amazon, the whole 9 yards. But what's next for you? Because, I mean, you're not going anywhere, clearly, and that's a good thing. But what's next for you?
Yeah, no, we just getting started, man. There's tons of records that are unreleased that I love. There's an album in the works, tons more shows in the works, a couple of features and stuff, so things are just getting started, really. But definitely look out for an album sometime at the end of this year, top of the year, something to kind of introduce myself to the world in a larger scale, and just tons of singles. And I'm going to try and produce for more people now that we're back, and I feel like it's going to be real in a little bit, man.
Absolutely. We definitely feel the exact same way, Luke. Just keep, doing your thing. Keep engaging the crowd. Keep putting out that real music, because there's so much of that nonsense that's not real. But, just keep it up. Like, you're doing everything absolutely righteous.
My guy,
keep it
so
going.
Much, bro. I appreciate that.
No doubt. So, Luke, real quick before we have you do a drop, tell everybody where they can, follow you as far as, like, social media is concerned.
Yup, Instagram is AY Luke Christopher, AY Luke Christopher. Make sure y'all follow me. And then Twitter is Luke Chris Music, and music is spelled with a Z. So make sure y'all get at me, man.
Perfect. And if you can say this is Luke Christopher and you're now listening to On Air with David Dwayne, that'd be perfect.
What's going on, fam? It's your boy Luke Christopher, and you're now listening On Air with David Dwayne.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Luke.
My dude, thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Anytime. All right, no problem.